that 5,500 shelter dogs a day are euthanized. Welcome. Today I have a very important show to share with you and a very empowering interview with these two very special guests. I hope today gives you hope that everyone does have the power to make a difference. Mark and Marina Barone are the founders of An Active Dog, and they're here to tell you their story. Welcome to the show, Mark and Marina.
Hi,
How you doing?
thanks
Great
for
to be
having
here.
us.
I am so honored to have you here today because if people watching don't know that I'm a huge dog lover, a huge animal lover and advocate. And when my dear friend Brenda Cooper, who you all know and love, told me about you, I was an instant fan of what you're doing. And I'm not the only one. PBS got a hold of your story and did a wonderful documentary on your plight and your project. And we will put the link to that show in the description as well. But tell us what euthanasia is before we even get into your story.
Well, the true act of euthanasia is actually compassion. It's a compassionate act. And it really applies to animals that can't be helped, meaning that their health is deteriorating and they can't be rehabilitated, or they've got aggression, or there's some kind of, dangerous issue there. And for that reason, the dog can't be rehabilitated and adopted out. Okay. And obviously there are sick and dying animals as well.
So it's supposed to be was supposed to be a good thing. It was supposed to be putting out of misery. Is that what you're telling us?
Yes, it's a compassionate act. Okay. And unfortunately, the word is now being misused and applied to shelter animals. Now, the majority of shelter animals are healthy and adoptable. And those animals are being killed at an alarming rate. And so we make the distinction between euthanasia and destroying or taking lives away or killing, whatever word you want to use. But like I said, euthanasia is a compassionate act, and that's not what's going on.
I was shocked when I was first introduced to you, and Mark, I was introduced to Mark's paintings of these beautiful dogs, these 5,500 dogs that represent the daily killing of shelter dogs. And Marina, on the show, the PBS show, when you were saying how they're gassing them and it's poison gas and puppies on top of puppies, it's almost unbearable to watch this. So tell us what your project, your 5,500 project, was and is now, and how you're making a difference in this huge amount of unnecessary killing now. It's not euthanasia anymore. This is unnecessary killing of precious dogs, and for the most ridiculous reasons, not just overcrowding, but maybe they look wrong. It's just horrific. So tell us.
Yeah, there's definitely lots of discrimination that go on in shelters, especially for certain breeds of dogs, whether it's a bully breed, a color. Black dogs are usually the first to be killed. So there's lots of, I think people need to understand that, as humans, we have the luxury of living 72 plus years. And, animals in general don't live long lives, but if you compare that, we get 72 plus years, most shelter animals get 72 hours. And I think that's really important to really let that sit and have you make a decision when you're next thinking about getting a dog, that you go to a shelter, you adopt a dog. If you've got a specific breed in mind, there are rescue groups that are dedicated to certain breeds. So you can always adopt.
You're so right. I am so glad you said that, because that is so true. I am such a big advocate for the nonprofits, and I have found in my journeys that there are rescue centers for Goldens, for Shepherds, for Australian Shepherds, for Chihuahuas, for Pomeranians. You can find a breed that you like, and the best breeds are even ones that have mixed. And scientists, I watched a show that were talking about the best dogs that aren't just completely purebred, but adding mixes into them even makes them healthier. So yes, absolutely. Your message to adopt, to foster, to rescue is imperative. So Mark, tell us about your wonderful paintings we see behind you, because the story behind all these paintings and your talent is remarkable.
Yeah, it was, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but, I got involved with this. It was really Marina that was the, the spark,
Catalyst.
yeah, behind the whole thing. And
Women.
I had, oh yeah, and I'd lost my dog after 22 years, and I just was not ready to go down that road again. It was really tough, and it
Mm.
was hard for me for over a year. And so we had moved out of the place that we were living in St. Louis, and I just needed a change of pace. So we moved to Santa Fe, and Marina started wanting to adopt a dog, and so she's looking at all these dogs, and that's when she found out what was happening in the shelter system. And so she started sending me all these videos, and the videos that she's talking about in the beginning of the documentary was the stuff she was sending me, and it was the gas chambers, and they
Oh,
were graphic. They weren't like what's in the documentary. The documentary just kind of tells you what's going on in the shelters. It's not graphic at all. And so I just, it was tough to take. It was really hard to watch that stuff, and so I just told her to quit sending it to me. It was too hard to stomach watching these lives just being snuffed out. And
But I didn't stop.
I
she
can
didn't.
see that. Yes, you've changed the world. And what Mark is talking about is these, and it does show it in the beginning of your PBS special, which I hope
Yeah.
everybody that's watching this watches that PBS special, An Active Dog, because I'm glad it only showed us like a snippet, because it shows the poisonous gas container, and then Marina, you're on it talking about them, taking the pipe and pumping in poisonous gas and then throwing more puppies in. It's horrific, but we need to know. I'm glad, Marina, you didn't give up, because he needed to know, because you made a shift, not only in your life, but you're shifting so many other people's life to force us to say, this is happening. And we all can make a difference if we're saying we love animals and love dogs and love life, human dignity and life. It was just, I get speechless. So continue, because it's definitely a soft spot in my heart.
Okay, just to answer to that, we use an expression. It's called "face it, feel it, fix it." Because if you
Love
what's
that.
happening,
Say it again. Say that again.
face it, feel it, fix it.
Perfect. That's the new hashtag. Okay. I want to remember that one.
Yeah, and so Marina sent me that stuff. So I sat with it for a while, and then I got up one day and I said, I know what I want to do, and I didn't want to go down the road of like trying to change laws and all that stuff. It just wasn't what I want to do. That's not what I do as an artist. So I said, this is what I can do, and I said, get me the number of dogs that are killed in one day.
Approximately.
Yeah, approximately. And so she did all of her research and came
up. What were you
up.
thinking it was going to be? Just out of curiosity, what was the number you were kind of thinking it's going to be?
I thought it was going to probably be about 2,000-3,000 or something like that. I thought it was going to be a horrific number, but I didn't think it was going to be 5,500.
And that's just in the U.S., right?
That's just in the U.S. And that was a very conservative number. That wasn't, if you really start adding a lot of other stuff in, it was more than that. But anyway, the 5,500 number was an average number. So I said, Marina, we have to do something big enough that we're going to capture people's attention. And I said, if we don't, don't do it. I said, and little did I know at the time, because, when we talked about it, it all sounded really great, but it was a tough journey. It really was. And I had no idea what I was actually setting myself up for when I went down this road. And, I talked about in the documentary, these mild forms of depression, and there was a lot of that, but
what was your goal? Tell my viewers what you decided to do with that 5,500 number.
It was a visual record of what was happening. And it was like, and there was also the juxtaposition of taking over 4 years to paint something that we do in one day. And so I wanted that out.
You painted these dogs for their life. You took these, which 5,500 dogs were these? How did you find them to paint?
So what happened was we had obviously there's lots of rescue groups, fosters and volunteers out there. Every day they're trying to pull these animals from the shelters and save them from death row, right? That's really what's going on. So these girls have created pages where they put these animals on, where they try to save them, and then when they aren't able to save them, they have a sort of a memorial for them. So that was one. And then we had rescue groups that would send us images of dogs that they tried really hard to save, and They weren't able to save it. And so they asked us, please put this in as one of the 5,500. And so that's what we did.
And it took off. I mean, at first, I think a lot of people thought we were crazy, that we were never going to complete this. We were never going to do it. And, because, I mean, to paint 5,500 painting is a monumental task. People do not realize what that entailed.
It's oil painting.
And it's oil painting. So, when we started going down the road and talking about this, and once we got into it a little bit and people started finding out about us, all of a sudden we had all these rescue groups contacting us. This is one we couldn't save. And it was really cathartic for them that this animal that they tried to save, and they actually befriended a lot of these animals, and they'd go the next day and they'd already killed them without calling them, without talking to them, without telling them, hey, come pick this animal up, we're going to kill it today. None of that. And so most of them were just devastated. And so it was very cathartic for them knowing that this spirit was going to live on through this project that we were doing in our nonprofit. And so the whole thing was to make a statement, and it wasn't a statement about the animals. It was a statement about our humanity. It was a statement about our compassion in this country and how quickly we just disregard it or just get it out of our mind. And that's what this was really about. And so through this whole thing that we're going through now, I mean, people are going, oh, the adoptions are up, and look, we have our dogs at home. And I think it's great stuff. But I mean, that's what needs to continue year after year, not just for this, spot of time. And so it was a statement about our compassion and humanity in this country. And if there's one problem that's really simple to solve, it's this one, because it takes some ingenuity, a little bit of marketing and stuff like that. But that's not what you have at these shelters. You don't have, like, hey, let's market these dogs. Let's try to get them a home and stuff like that. They're just like, well, I hope somebody comes in today. Otherwise, we're going to have to kill 20 more, and it's just absolute laziness with a lot of this stuff. And it's maddening to do it, and
even if you didn't care about the animals and you looked at it from an economic point of view. So when a dog or a cat goes into a shelter, it takes a certain amount of tax dollars in these pounds to take care of that dog. You've got to feed it. You've got to give it medication, right? So that money, that tax dollars money, can't even be recovered unless you adopt the dog out. So now you're taking tax dollars to take care of an animal to then kill it. So even the economics, they just don't work.
Yeah, there's just nothing that makes sense about the whole thing.
It really doesn't. And Mark, I have to just say that you are such a talent. That artwork we're looking behind you is your work. You capture their essence in their eyes. And I'm looking at the dogs up there, then even the horses. It's so neat how this came to your lap through Marina, who you wanted to. Let me ask you, Marina, did you ever get your adopted dog you were looking for? Good. What's his name or her name?
Yeah.
What is it?
We have a dog called Gigi.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You got that. So yay, girl power. And then look what you started just by wanting to foster that dog. And Mark, you had that relationship for 22 years with your dog. That is an amazing lifespan for a dog. Kudos to you for that care and that love. That dog didn't just live because it just lived 20 years. You nurtured that whole life. So that I can see that being so special. Most of us only get 8 to 12 years of a dog. And you got 22. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You can tell you were selected for this cause from way back. So that's a definite, props to you.
At the time that we started the project, she was almost with me half my life.
Yeah.
And so it was tough. I mean, that was a tough one. I mean, it's unlike relatives or family members, because this animal is with you day in, day out, every day, 24/7, I mean, because I work from my studio. So these animals are around me all the time. And one of the cats that we adopted was actually in my studio for the 4+ years that I painted. And so he was kind of an abandoned cat. He had been abandoned 3 or 4 times. And so when the last people abandoned him, I said, I've had it. So I took him into my studio. We got him a bed, and, we just started feeding him every day. And we just said, come with us no matter what happens. And so that's what we did. So he's one of our rescues.
Oh, that's fantastic. You were talking about how the marketing is not there in these shelters, and they just bring them in, feed them, give them their shots or whatever, and then hope somebody comes, and somebody doesn't come, so then they euthanize them. Let's not even say euthanize, then they kill them. Let's just be clear. And I heard a story of a photographer. It was recent, it was in the last 12 months, that actually used his skills and went in and took good photographs of dogs in shelters to make them look more adoptable. I mean, to even make that pit bull, he was a kind, beautiful pit bull, took a beautiful picture of this dog and was getting results. People were coming in and adopting just because the pictures weren't inside a dark cage, with them hovering in the back. He brought them out into the light, took the pictures, used his talent to make a difference to help get these dogs and cats homes. So tell us, what can we do? What are some ideas? If I know that everybody that's watching is going to say, what can I do? I'd love to adopt them all. Wish we could. And I know I would just adopt every single one if I could, but that's not realistic. So what can we do? We know we can spay and neuter. We can foster instead of buy. Is there anything else that people watching can do to help? I know you have your foundation, Active Dog. What can we do? Does a little make a big difference?
Yes, it does. I think that the obvious things that you mentioned, like adopting, volunteering, so helping socialize the animals for rescue groups and shelters.
That's a great idea.
Being a foster. Those are the more obvious ones. The less obvious ones that actually have an impact are really about using your skills. So think about, let's say if you're a good writer, you could write great Facebook posts for people, right? To help them adopt the dogs out. You could write an article about that rescue group, or, promote those dogs. Perhaps you're good at marketing. You could help them with branding. There's so many things, so many ways you can use your talents. You could put on fundraisers. Think about your skills. And I would approach rescue groups. I would definitely encourage people to put their money towards their local rescue groups, because they're the ones that need help. And do not direct your funds to the large animal organizations. They do not need your help. It's the small ones, and those small ones are the lifesavers.
Yeah. And there was one thing that happened to us when we first started the project, and Marina will remember this. There was a morning show in Louisville when we were there. So the morning show was going to come in, and so they said, well, we want to get the Louisville shelter, the city shelter, which was a horrific place to be. You never wanted to go there because it was so depressing. And so they said, well, we want to bring over like 6 or 7 dogs they were going to bring over. And we said, yeah, do you have a problem with that? I said, no, bring them in the studio. I said, it'd be great. So they, all throughout the show, it was like an hour or 2-hour show. So all throughout the show, they would go to us and do a little thing, and they show one of the dogs. Every one of those dogs got adopted by the end of the show. Every one. So I'm going, why isn't the local television doing small little PSAs every day to help these shelters out? Because it's so little and it makes such a huge difference. You're talking about saving these animals' lives. And it was like all 7 of them by the end of the show, because the lady that was a reporter that was in our studio goes, they've all been adopted. Every one of them's adopted. So and I was like, so why aren't we doing that?
Oh my God, the power of the media, the power of television, the power of letting people know they're there. And I've always been a big advocate that the eye buys, when you can see and say, oh, well, because most people aren't going to get up and just say, well, let me go to the shelter today. But when you see it, it's like you weren't planning on adopting, but you get that heartstring, you've got to go get that one. So what a great idea, and a great idea, Marina, to use whatever your talent is, like that photographer did. So whatever you have, a gift that could be utilized to tell that story, let them know, and get an eyeball on those puppies and those kittens and those older dogs even. There's shelters that are for senior dogs. I heard a horrible story. It was on Facebook last year, as well as this beautiful Doberman Pinscher was in Florida that was brought in by his owner because he was old now. I mean, you're talking like 8 or 9 years old. He wasn't even old, and brought him in because they were done. You just want to, don't want to say kill somebody, but I just don't understand it.
They relate to them as disposable rather than as family members that you keep with you for life. And so another thing that people don't realize is when they turn their animal into a shelter, they're actually legally signing over the dog to the shelter and giving them immediate permission to kill the dog. And most of the time that
They
dog
do.
is killed within seconds. They take it right into the
No.
back.
Yeah, it's horrific. I mean, and those are the ones, that's another thing. Those are the ones they do not count on their statistics.
On the euthanasia
On the-
statistics that they
Why
They do
not?
they're not counted.
They're not
Why?
counted.
Why?
Because you are legally asking them to do it for you if you turn a dog or a cat in.
So those aren't
That's not
counted.
even counted in the
No,
5,500.
that's why I said the number was, the 5,500 number is really misleading
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, because, and the shelters aren't going to tell you what they're doing, because then they wouldn't get any funding either from the city, or there'd be outrage, or there's all sorts of stuff that would go on if they actually were honest about what was
Right.
happening. So it's been, Louisville was horrific. I mean, Marina and I walked in there a couple times. Oh my God. I mean, I couldn't take it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could not take it. It was so sad.
Well, I hope people now, and myself included, we're going to take extra effort to see what we can do to help and help the worst ones. Let's go out and let's see who those bad places are, where they are, see how we can help get the dogs and cats out of those places, how we can be of service, whatever we can do. And the power of one is amazing. Never mind the power of two, power of four, power of one person, like this interviewing, in, igniting a fire in one other person that helps in their city, in their community. It definitely can snowball. That's how movements are made. That's how laws are made and changed. So I know you have an Active Dog Foundation. Tell us about that and how we can help.
Okay, so there's lots of things. So what we do is we use art for social impact. So the 5,500 project was obviously the first project, and that is now part of a private collector's circle. So people can actually purchase one of the 5,500 souls and have it in their home. And so these dogs will finally know love, and it's a really beautiful thing. So,
and that's what's behind you, right, Marina? Those pictures are ones that people can buy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Those are some from the 5,500. So people can, and obviously we have a special price, a special rate for the collector's circle. So those paintings behind the small ones, they're normally $1,250 for a 12 by 12 of his work. But for the project, for this collector's circle, there are only it's $258. And we also, people can buy it via 6 pays. So they can just do $43 a month for 6 months. That way they can bring one of these souls into their home and let them know love. So it's a beautiful act of compassion and kindness.
And one of the other things why we set the price up like that and the payment system is because, a lot of our followers and people that are really in this world of saving these animals, they don't have tons of money. So we wanted to make it affordable for them so they could actually own one. And really for these dogs, that were snuffed out and their lives were just extinguished unnecessarily, that they actually found, a resting place finally,
They find a home, so they finally get their home. That's great. And I like what you told me. So when they want to adopt, we're going to put up your website, the Active Dog, so people that want to can adopt the last few. I know you're getting such a great response on people buying these pictures because they represent a real dog. So when we ask, we say we want to purchase one of these portraits. Tell us a little bit how that works. I know there's a name that goes with it, a story, but we don't get to hand select it. We might say we love pit bulls or we love shepherds. Tell us what this would look like. So I'm going to go to your website and I want to participate. What do we do?
Yeah, so you can click. Yeah, so you can buy it outright, and so then you get your portrait immediately. Well, when I say immediately, there'll be a final glaze that goes on it, and it dries, then it's shipped. If you do the option for the 6 pays, then when you're paid in full, then that dog will be sent to you. Now, you will receive an email immediately upon purchase, and you can request, like, it could be a color that you like. You like white dogs, you like black dogs, you like hounds, you like bully breeds, you like chihuahuas. So Mark will keep that in mind as he's going through the selection process. And so, as I said, people are buying many of them for their gallery.
And they're real dogs that were snuffed out. So does it come with the name of it? Tell me a little about the history. So when I get this beautiful painting in my home, the history that I have.
So I'll show you this little bully breed here. And his name is Spike. And so on the back, there'll be Spike's name. It'll be the number in order of the 5,500 that Mark painted. And there's the date that dog was killed as well. And so, and it comes ready to hang. So they're absolutely beautiful.
I definitely want one for sure. And I love that you were telling me, look at those eyes. Wow, you were telling me that people are buying more than one. It's so
They
great
are.
if you can do that to give these beautiful puppies a forever home and their legacy
Yeah.
will live on. You know, I'm big on living your legacy, and these dogs have a legacy. And legacy isn't always a long thing. These dogs had a short lifespan legacy, but an eternity legacy that now will live on in people's homes. I want one for sure. I know there's gonna be a lot of people gonna want more than one. So, and I know people can even say, I want a large dog, I want a small dog, whatever. Thank you for taking the care and making it even more meaningful. It's not just, okay, I'll take one. And some people may just say, anyone, just, I want one. I want this memory in my home. I want to give it a forever home. So that's fantastic that you do that. Give us your website and how we go about contacting you.
So it's anactofdog.org.
Great. I'll
So
put
that's
it up for you.
ANACTDOGOF, sorry. Anactofdog.org.
We'll put it here. Don't worry.
And let me just also let people know. So when they go to the website, they'll learn about what we do with schools. And so we go in and we work with school children and show them how to use art for social impact. And those projects always include shelter animals. And so we have them, they have to research local and nationwide nonprofits that are working towards solving some of these issues, whether it's with animals or other areas. And then we bring those nonprofits in to do a Q&A, to give a talk to the kids. Then they do a Q&A to ask more about what these guys are doing, what kind of help they need. And then the kids paint up to how many paintings each?
I want them to do at least 10.
So it's about 10 paintings each. Then these paintings are used to actually raise funds for those animal and other nonprofits. And then we make prints out of them. And then those will also go to ongoingly support those rescue groups.
Yeah.
We also we're just about to team up with a New York rescue group, a couple of them, because Mark's also doing a series of stories from New York Animal Care and Control.
Can we get the pictures?
There are some horrific stories that come out of that shelter. The killing rate is very high. Mark, he can get the images if you like.
Yeah, all of the kids are paired with a nonprofit.
Right.
Every one of them. So whatever their issue, like there was one that was doing something on animal testing. Well, we didn't have anybody locally that was doing animal testing, so they were paired with Beagle Freedom Act. Mm-hmm. And so that's who they were paired with. But everybody else has a local one that they are actually paired with. So they have an actual relationship with these nonprofits these kids do.
Right.
What a great idea. Now, can people in other states that will never have you come to them physically do this? Do you have any kind of training program or video, like let's say some city somewhere that you can't physically go to, or let's say a whole bunch of schools want to do this? Do you have like a training program on how this could work anywhere? If anybody wanted to say, hey, I want to start this in my city.
Yes, we do. We've helped teachers across the nation set up these projects, and we work with them remotely too. So we work remotely with those kids, with those projects, and it's incredible. These kids will just give you hope, and they'll inspire you, because they are the leaders of tomorrow.
They really are.
Yeah.
And so everything these, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, so that's one other thing we do, is work with the schools, showing kids how to use art for social impact. We work ongoingly. Mark paints for social impact, and so he's doing one right now with these 3 New York dogs that tell you about. So I'll let him tell you.
This first one is Cowboy.
Aw, let me see.
Cowboy was emaciated when he came in, and they killed him in 17 minutes.
No.
So it was sickening. I'm going, where's the my first reaction if I looked at this dog was like, we need to get this dog some food and healthy. Their first reaction is like, take him in the back room and kill him. You know, it's just disgusting.
That's
horrible. So here's the next one.
This next one, so he'll be doing some fairly large paintings of these dogs. This one is Thor, and you can see this is with a police officer from the 121
precinct
in New York City. These police officers they brought Thor in to the New York ACC, and they signed the paperwork out, they filled it out to adopt Thor, and they decided to kill Thor instead.
What is ACC? You said ACC?
It's New York City Animal Care and Control.
They should take the care out of there.
I was about to say that. Take the care out of that title.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's horrific. The police, they must have been devastated.
They were
devastated. Yeah. So Mark is going to be painting their stories to really help something called CAPA, Companion Animal Protection Act, which actually ensures that rescue groups can pull those animals before the shelter gets the right to kill them.
Can we close down a shelter like that? I mean, can't that be illegal?
It's
it's not now. It's not now. That's why they want the CAPA law passed there.
So
the people that contacted me are people that are very close to our project, and they're also very big advocates, especially in New York and other places, to get the CAPA, Companion Animal Protection Act, introduced and passed by law.
Which would do what? Give them more time to find a home? What would that law do?
If the rescue groups are available and are wanting to take those animals out, they get the first right. You don't get the first right to take their life away.
Yeah.
And this is for all shelter animals. And so just as a side note, even though he painted 5,500 shelter dogs for the approximate number killed every day, certainly at that time when we started the project, but there's also double that number of cats that are killed every day.
Yeah, we haven't even talked about cats yet. Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah. But, the people that asked, I did one 8 foot by 8 foot cat, which was a tragic story. But, people would ask me, I said, I just don't have the finances or the time to do the cats. But our thing was like symbolic of all shelter animals.
Yeah.
So we did not exclude cats when we did it.
So here's the third one.
Gouda.
Okay.
This is Gouda.
This is Gouda.
Baby.
Yeah.
So Gouda was found in a trash bin, starved, like you can see. And so
it gets worse. So
I almost can't take it. And I've seen dogs like that get rehabilitated and turn into beautiful, loving, healthy, strong dogs. I've seen that many, many times.
Well, I'm going to show you what happened. So let me give me the before again. So they took
a happy ending.
They took Gouda in, okay, and I can give you a picture with both of them on before and after, right? So this is how they took him in as he was starved. Okay. Then they fed him up and got him healthy.
Look at the smile.
Right? Then they adopted him out to a family with another dog from the same shelter. Okay. And the person that adopted Gouda returned Gouda, and then they killed him. Even though the rescues were there to take that dog,
the rescues were ready, because they knew he got brought back. They were ready to take him.
Why did they brought that dog back? Little Gouda, they brought him back. Why?
Yeah, like that. They brought him back when he looked like that.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can handle this. They just brought him back. Why would you not find a home? I cannot even.
So that's kind of, the whole purpose is to
my
help.
heart is racing.
You have to show people this stuff to stir them and help recover our lost humanity, because that's what this project and our charity is about. It's about helping us as humans. It's, animals are beautiful. They love completely, unconditionally. We don't know how to do that yet.
And that was unnecessary. All of it's unnecessary. But that, I'm thinking, you just showing me a good, happy ending, a success story. And then it flipped me back on my head that it still didn't turn out good. It has to be seen. We have to help.
Yeah, we've had so many stories like that. Yeah. I mean, almost all of them. And they're sickening. They're really tough to take.
And if you look behind us, and so the other thing we do, is we help a couple of horse sanctuaries and horse rescues. And so this painting in the back of us here is actually a painting that illustrates or tells the story that over 125,000 horses are actually shipped to Mexico and Canada every year, slaughtered for food for
I don't
European
even want to. Oh,
diners.
Yeah.
And
I
that's
can't. I can't.
So,
We have
so in
to.
all those, oh yeah, and the whole story is in the painting. And so when I did the painting, there was two horse rescue groups. One is in Texas and one is in Colorado, and they're sanctuaries, and they're very good sanctuaries, and they do excellent work. And so the prints are done from that painting to actually help them. So every print that's sold,
Good. Great.
that painting actually helps these horse sanctuaries.
And I'll send you a thing on who they
Please.
are.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. We're going to have to end this on a high note, because I know we have to give everybody hope on even a small thing can make a difference. So I'm going to ask you both two questions to leave us on some hope and just some goodness that we can make a difference, that this is not a lost cause. It seems, and it is, overwhelmingly bad. But Mark and Marina, you made a difference with your lives. You took on one project and it will turn into a movement. It has turned into a movement. So what would success look to you? Like, how could we make this even more like on its way to success, to making a difference and turn this into success, whether it's new laws or more help? And then what is your legacy? How do you want to be remembered? If all this is for a reason, what would that be? If people think of Marina and Mark, an active dog, and they remember you, how? What would that look like?
I would say, first of all, that killing is taken off the table as an option for all these animals.
I agree.
Okay? So you become resourceful, and compassion becomes your leader. And I would say that what Mark and I both feel very strongly about, and what we think that is really going to make a difference out there, is people understanding, and I mean really understanding, that happiness does not come from serving yourself. It comes from serving others.
Amen. Well said. Yes.
Yes, if you adopt that in your life, and you recognize that when you're so busy being self-absorbed, acquiring more, taking care of your own needs, that there's a whole world out there that you could contribute to and make a difference. So we live, both of us have other jobs. I coach people and Mark paints. Mm-hmm. And so we give 100% of everything we earn to the nonprofit. So we don't work for profit anymore. And so there are lots of ways that I think people can give back and make that a monthly thing that they do, that we're going to do something, even if it's once a month. Yeah. That they're going to do something that's not about themselves, that it's about giving back and making a difference somewhere in your community.
Absolutely. We're on the same page for sure. It's exactly what people can do. And you might not think you can change the world, but you can, one act at a time, one month at a time. Right. How excellent. Great advice. That is success. And I will guarantee them they will feel better. It will make them more successful in their own soul, that they're making a difference. That's just beautiful. Perfect. Mark, how about you?
I think the same thing that Marina was saying about the shelters, that it'd be great if there wasn't even a need for shelters anymore. But but for me, I've always done things that with my work that were about social issues and social impact and stuff like that. It's just what my work's been about. I mean, I can't just paint pretty pictures. I've never done that in my life. And,
right.
And it's really important to me to pass that on to these young kids, because one thing I do know, and I know this for a fact, is that when we work with those kids in Virginia, the ones that are on the documentary, and they told us when they had that art show that they raised like $10,000 or $12,000 for 3 different rounds. They raised a ton of money. And so, but the thing is that they changed the parents. So it was through the kids that the parents were changed. It wasn't the other way around.
Yeah.
And so these kids were so moved by what they were doing, because they have this kind of open vessel where they can take stuff in. They're not predisposed to, oh, this is what it is, or this is what it is. I mean, they just take it in. And so
they were given a voice.
Exactly. Yeah. And so we kept telling them that what they do will make a big difference. I mean, what they do, what they paint. And so our whole thing was like, especially with this group that we're dealing with now, is that they paint something meaningful. I mean, it has to be meaningful, and it has to actually espouse what they're trying to say. And so we go through this whole project, but it was really neat to see the kids actually be so energetic about what they were doing because they understood that they could make a difference. These are little people. These aren't people that are 18, 20, 30.
No, I know.
These are like little eighth graders. And their paintings, by the time we got done with them before all the stuff hit, I mean, they had some game. And I'm looking at some of their works, and I'd have to tell them to stop because I don't think in some respects they'd keep working on the painting. I said, stop, that thing is perfect. Leave it.
Well, Mark, I have to say, of course, again, they've got to see this documentary, but one that totally brings this point home, Mark and Marina, is that one girl that painted the picture of the dog and the monkey, and she literally stitched on the canvas their mouths closed. What a creative piece of artwork that shows that these animals have no voice. And she stitched it, not painted it, did the stitching of their mouths closed on the artwork. And that just was like the wow moment for me. And that will stay in her legacy for her entire life, making a difference, giving a voice to the voiceless, whether it's children that don't have a voice from being abused, to animals, to making a difference. These kids are impacted to make a social difference. No matter what that's going to look like in their life, it's going to happen now. And there's nothing you can do to stop that train from leaving the station. And you're right. It trickled up to their parents, because a changed child is going to be a changed family, a changed everything from that one thing that you all did. And I just can't even get more excited about doing this in more schools, because our future is our kids. They impact so much to everyone around them. And that one thing made such a huge impact in me.
It's a completely different thing in that it comes from within them. And it's just so much more powerful. And, you know, to me, to make these art programs throughout this country actually meaningful, and that they have purpose and power and everything else. And one of the things that we learned, and this goes through, and Maureen will probably remember other things, but there was a kid, and I forgot which one it was in the documentary, that went home and told them, they all boycotted the circus too, because they knew the animals were abused. So they all did that. So they boycotted that. But the other thing that they did, they went home, they looked at all their products, and they made their parents get rid of all the ones that they used animal testing on.
Yes.
And so then they had to go get all new ones. So there's this whole change, the sea change that happened through this art class, you know, because the kids were so passionate about it, they got their parents engaged. So I mean, there's just so much more to it, but there's something about art that makes that come out, you know, and there's no other thing that creativity that does that.
It really hits your soul. It hits your whole essence, because it's the creative part. Even if somebody's not a creative person and they're more analytical, we all have a creative spirit in us that will relate to this, that it touches your heart and touches your soul no matter who you are. And it's such an amazing impact. I love it. That's why the arts are so important in schools. And when they talk about taking them out of the school, I cringe every time, whether it's the theater or the art or photography. It's absolutely a must.
Well, and this is one program that the schools are really wanting to keep in. You know what the schools are working with now, they took out every other art program but kept our one in, because it's using art for social impact. And so I think it's important to also, aside from acknowledging the power of these kids as our leaders for tomorrow, is to acknowledge the teachers that step up, you know, these art teachers, these principals that say yes to this project, yes to having our kids do something meaningful like this. Mm-hmm. And then the final thing I would like to say, and I know Mark will too, is to say thank you to all of the women of rescue.
Oh, God.
Because without women in the world, there would be no animals being saved, because it is entirely, I would say 95% are women.
Easily.
And they are they're our heroes.
I'm glad to hear you say that. You know, I say that all the time. I'm not sure if I'm right, that women we have this heart to rescue and save. And Mark, you're so sweet to say, yeah, girl power. Yeah, it's just something I think comes natural to us. But the good guys out there like you, Mark, are right there with us. Say, what can I do to help? What do you need me to do? You're right. Thank you for putting this idea in my head, but then you all help us run with it. So your partnership is such a blessing and so fantastic. Either one of you could have easily fought the other one, and you didn't. You came together in this perfect storm, this perfect movement to share with the world. So I am going to emphasize people get a hold of you. I'm going to put in this interview an active dog nonprofit. You're going to be honored at my next Live Your Legacy Summit because of what you do and the difference you're making. And I just hope everybody that sees this reaches out to you and in some way gets a new idea from knowing you that touches your heart, you touch their heart, and it just keeps this movement and this act of caring alive, because somebody else could take this idea and do it with their own gifts, their own talents that could be completely different. Like I was saying, the photographer, you know, he went off and did, he did best and he's saving lives. So, and the next one could be a child. There's just so much goodness that can happen from just great minds and great hearts coming together and just talking. And Marina, tell us that quote again that you started us out with, the I feel, so I, what was that one?
Oh, it's face it, feel it, fix it.
I want to end with that. Face it, which we're doing today, and a lot of it wasn't easy. Feel it, and then fix it. I'm going to remember that. And the fix it part is what I want everybody to do now. We're going to put your website up, an active dog, any last minute closing of a call to action for somebody who's just falling in love with you and your project like I am, that we can do. We all want to adopt a painting. I'm sure you'll be sold out of these paintings quite quickly because it's going to be such a great thing. I want one. I know my community is going to want them. You've made it a reasonable thing to have affordable, even in this quarantine time we're going through now. We can still make a difference and have them in our home. This is going to be a piece of art that we're going to hand down to our children, and they're going to hand down to their children. So these dogs' lives are going to last an eternity through generation and generation and you've made it so for less than $300, they can have this soul and the spirit in their home and in their family forever.
And, you know, even more affordable, people can buy a print. That we have prints that are very affordable. We have night lights with the artwork on, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So
and this is on your website, correct? An Active Dog?
Yeah, go to our store, and there's just lots of options.
Yeah.
I hope everybody does it. Everybody go to the store, do what you can. You will make a difference. This is phenomenal. The social impact of art and talent and ideas coming to life, making a difference, making a social impact is there for everyone who wants it. You really have empowered us, Mark and Marina, to say whatever you want to make a difference in, you have the power within you to do it. And now more than ever with this pandemic, with our quarantine, is a time to be creative. It's a time to take the cap off our thinking and our regular, normal day-to-day. This is a time of shakeup. And now I hope there's many, many people, myself included, that just takes that top off that box and we just let go. And we release our greatness to make a difference in whatever it is you're doing that you want to make a difference in. It'll look different for everybody, but I just love dogs and love animals. You're a perfect fit for my world. This is only the beginning of the difference we're going to make together. Thank you, thank you. And Mark, do you have a legacy that if they said, Mark, I want to, Mark Barone, what would I say when your life is over and you've lived it large? What do you want us to remember?
Oh, that I changed the art programs in this country to something meaningful, and these kids are making a difference. I think it's a different world at that point. You know, I mean, you get kids that are actually in these art classes painting about stuff that's meaningful. This is a completely different world. Completely. It will. And so that's my goal as an artist. Pass what I do on to these young kids and have them, whether they become artists or not, that it changes their lives and it changes their vision and how they look at things.
And you change a child's life, you do change the world. So absolutely. Okay. And those who are analytical and they might go into earth science and they cure cancer in dogs. They'll make a difference, or even just whatever they do. We won't box them into one thing that you have impacted them. And Marina, your legacy. We remember Marina. What do you want us to be saying?
It's exactly what I said, is that happiness. If you understand that happiness doesn't come from serving yourself, that it comes from serving others, then my legacy is done. It had an impact.
Well, I'm so glad to have you as part of my Live Your Legacy Summit coming up in 2021. You're a perfect fit. I've just only begun introducing my community, my friends, my fans, my wonderful world of philanthropists to you all and what you do. So we're in this together. You're not gonna be able to get rid of me now. I'm yours for life. Sorry. I'm just absolutely in love with both of you and what you do. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you for making a difference. And ladies and gentlemen, this is only the beginning. So I want you to earn more so you can live more, so you can give back more. And this is a beautiful organization to be able to say, hey, I want to make more so I can give back to them. But give of your heart and your talents right now. That doesn't cost anything. Hope you all have a great day. Mark and Marina, thank you for being on the show. I could talk to you forever, but you know what? I'm going to have you back. So thank you again.
Thank you for having us on. We appreciate it so much.
My pleasure, my honor. I'm going on your website right now. I'm going to get my beautiful fur baby into my home and give them a home for eternity. Thank you so much for hearing from me. You all have a great weekend, and keep living your legacy. Until next time, have a wonderful day. Thank you.